It's serious right now. Serious.
Hey everybody.
Serious.
Apparently it's Friday. 4 minutes late. 4 minutes past 3 o'clock here in Estonia in the afternoon on today, November 25th. Still 2022, but we're almost out of 2022. Thank God. I'm still Kevin Murcko. Apparently, the sign's right below. Still CEO of a company called Coinmetro. If you're in the wrong place, hang out anyway. It should be fun. We call this an AMA. You ask me a question, I answer it. Doesn't really get any much simpler than that. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed, I hate you. And please make sure you subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, make sure you click the heart, the confetti, whatever weird buttons you have on whatever platforms you're working on. And let's get started. All right, I'm going to jump right in. Hereby is first in the chat. So gold medal to Hereby. That's in the mail, buddy. So, you know, it'll arrive at some point. First question on the day. The Monkey Biscuits. I love names people pick for themselves on social media. Hello, Kevin. Is YouTube social media? I guess it is. Hello, Kevin. Hope you're doing amazing. I am. Thank you. Was wondering when we might see an updated tier system. Ooh, I was wondering that too. Those things are I would say, essentially in the works from the planning phase. There is some design going on as well in the background. I would expect to see that in the coming weeks. You like that? Weeks. That could be 80 weeks, you know, it could not, but generally speaking, it's going to come relatively soon. I literally just saw it in design, the first iterations, just the last couple of days. So working on something to make sure that there is like an entry tier, and this way people can kind of gain access to some of the perks of owning XCM without having to go into tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, you know, dip the toe in the water, get hooked. It's like when you got that first joint in high school for free. Yeah. That's entry tier. No CM merch shirt today. No, I had to do laundry. Actually, you know, if you're a 45-year-old man, you can't do laundry. It's probably a problem. So, I did some laundry, but I left it in the washing machine and forgot to put it in the dryer. It's like an analogy for my life, I think. Can you pet the piñata? Sure I can. You're going to make a funny meme out of this? Here you go. There it is. Look at that. Looks like he likes it. Okay, moving on. Any BizDev news? BizDev. I thought Jet Fuel was supposed to ask that question. Where's Jet Fuel, man? He's supposed to ask the BizDev question. Ridiculous. BizDev news. So, yeah, actually, there's a lot of BizDev news in the background. I'll give you a taste. Some of this stuff is obviously long-term, quite long-term. Some of it's short-term. So, we got merchant payments being worked on in the background. Bitcoin Lightning's being worked on in the background. We got some partnerships being worked on in the background for just exposure of Coinmetro in general. We also have crypto ATMs that are being discussed, not by us, but just that we may be supporting. There's a few things. Some mining. I think I've talked about that in the past. Those are very preliminary talks, but you know, the goal for Mars at the end of the day is to make it passive income, not just about protocol staking. Obviously not going into things that are higher risk. We're not going into, you know, over collateralized loans or anything like that, but moving into something that can provide additional passive income that isn't necessarily based on staking. So yeah, there's actually a good amount of BizDev. We will probably have our first ever BizDev small team, or at least one individual to start, but maybe even a small team early next year. So also that's some BizDev news, right? We actually have somebody doing BizDev. Fuck's sake, look at that. Hey, Kev, I've received roughly the third of my Flux airdrop from May. Can we expect the rest of it? Contact support on that one, because I've seen there may be some nuanced reason why it's a third, and there may be some specific reason to your account. And you may be talking about multiple different types of rewards, because obviously Flux isn't, you know, the airdrops out there's parallel mining and all this other stuff. So contact support, they should be able to help you with that, because it might just be specific to you. Amazing. Everything's amazing, Monkey Biscuits. Thank you. Lots of bonuses of new members and new XCM. Anything coming soon for existing members? You know, we always want to make sure that our existing token holders, you know, feel all warm and fuzzy. And so I do think there's been also some talks internally about things that we will be doing for existing members. You know, right now what we want to do, obviously, is correct the book. That correcting the book, getting the book back moving and in a nice, you know, what a book should look like, I guess, at the end of the day, is priority. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to incentivize, you know, new CoinMetro clients to come on board and understand the benefits of owning some XCM. And after that, to stabilize and make sure that existing members still feel warm and fuzzy and continue to hold XCM in the ecosystem, it's about incentivizing them to make sure they do that. So yes, the short answer to your question is yes. The longer answer is in process. You can expect to see updates and changes to tokenomics and different offers around XCM and obviously other things in the business coming at a much more rapid pace now. I think, everybody that's here has probably seen some posts in Telegram from Oliver recently about how excited he is about, marketing and everything, that we finally have a machine that's working. I put a thumbs up on that bad boy because I feel the same way. And so you're going to see more and more stuff like that. And that's also going to trickle down into product development, et cetera, because those two teams work and should work very closely together. Any proof of reserves on new CMC? So we saw what CMC did. I did a Twitter thread, about this, not about CMC, but just about proof of reserves in general. So, and I've been tweeting more than I usually tweet. I've been an avid tweeter the past couple of weeks. One of the things that I've been tweeting about is this idea that, proof of reserves is great. It's a baby step in the right direction because what it shows you is how much assets we hold. Great. But from, centralized exchanges don't, most people, I guess many people don't know how a centralized exchange operates, right? And so centralized exchanges have counterparties. A good centralized exchange limits their counterparty exposure, but they're still going to have counterparties. The biggest names in the business have counterparties. The smallest names in the business have counterparties. Many of those are going to be market makers or liquidity providers. Market makers generally settle on a daily basis, so there's no need to move assets to that market maker, right? And we do use market makers. We also have liquidity providers, different type of relationship. One of those, I'll give you a name of one, is called LMAX. LMAX is one of the most regulated counterparties in crypto, even though they're not potentially that well known in crypto. They were an FX liquidity provider of my business for years, and they've been established now for well over a decade. But they're a liquidity provider. The difference between a liquidity provider and a market maker is that with a liquidity provider, you deposit funds, you are given credit on those funds, and then you settle on that credit on a it could be different, 24-hour, 72-hour basis, whatever. That means that some of our assets, company and sometimes client assets, are held in order to provide liquidity back to those same clients, which means that they sit in addresses that are held by counterparties, not by us. They may still sit at the same custodial agent. They may still be at Fireblocks or BitGo. In fact, they probably are, but they sit, outside of our, let's say, circle. So the question becomes, one, how do we account for that in a way that it's actually provable? You can prove the fact that those assets are linked to us. That's not the easiest question to answer. In fact, I haven't seen anybody answer that question. I've seen a post from Vitalik that touches on it, like, oh, this is an issue, but no real solution on how to solve it. I think the technology that exists today can solve that problem, but it's going to require some form of mild centralization of data between counterparties, something that doesn't exist. And while lots of people are talking about proof of reserves, to me, and I'm usually honest with you guys. Usually, I'm always honest with you guys. I said usually. That might have been a Freudian slip. I don't know. Reality, this is gimmick. This is a gimmick, and it's a gimmick to put a Band-Aid on something that's been a problem in finance, not just in crypto, forever, which is human corruption, and that's always been a problem. And you need to remove that human element. So CMC is just showing. You connect your wallet. CMC tells how much assets are in there. I got to tell you, basically meaningless. Now, if the market demands that we do something that we feel is meaningless, we're going to do it. Because at the end of the day, that's what the market wants. But the goal for the company is never just to be status quo, like, oh, well, everybody else is doing this. It's fucking stupid, but let's do it anyway. The goal is going to be to do something that actually provides value back to the market. This provides little to no value. However, again, market asked for it. We're going to do it. Working with CoinMarketCap in the past, I'd have to say, is shit. They respond to emails once every 18 months. And it seems like the person who responds didn't bother to read any of the email, just kind of gives you a random response because, fuck it, who cares? And so I'm not sure how that process would work, but, if the market demands it, we'll do it. But in the meantime, we're actively trying to figure out how to do this in a way that it provides actual value. And yes, Murcko tree liabilities and things like this are a potential solution, but it still isn't that simple, because if the Merkle tree data is coming from an API, guess what, guys? Anybody can fake that API. If it's coming from wallet addresses, but you use a system of proxy addresses like we do, and then move funds into an omnibus account inside of a custody agent, it doesn't work, because those wallet addresses will be empty, even though the client balance has assets sitting on it. And the reason that's done is, 1, for a cost basis, 2, for security, and 3, for ease of operations. It doesn't actually increase risk to the end client at all. Because if you're using a custody agent and assets are sitting in individualized wallets, the entity that owns the master wallet can still move the funds. And so again, it always comes back to the fact that most people don't understand how any market works. Most people in crypto, the vast majority, don't understand how exchanges work. And even people that work at exchanges, because they work in certain pieces of the exchange, don't understand how the back end works. And when you get bits and pieces of this information, it can seem like bad, right? It can seem like, well, wait a minute, why doesn't it work like this? But the problem is that people don't explain it. So hopefully that explanation gives you a bit of an idea of how the current solution being talked about in just plain English is bullshit. And again, we can do it, and we will do it if people think that we should. We'll go ahead and do it. But it provides zero value back to you. And the problem with that is if you start trusting operations of any business, including CoinMetro for that matter, based on CMC saying that we hold 200 million worth of assets in crypto, you're trusting something that adds zero trust, which is a problem. Could you add new investors? Could you add new investors in the latest 7 million fund round for CM, or did you collect that capital from existing investors? There were new investors in the round. There was also one existing investor, but there were new investors in the round. You supporting Mexico? Is that like a FIFA question? So I'm going to upset a whole lot of people, but I do that probably on a daily basis. So I've never watched on TV a football match in my life. To be fair, though, I've never watched almost any sporting event on TV. When I was a kid, every once in a while, because my friends would watch, we'd watch like the NBA or whatever, right? But not my thing, man. I to be honest, that doesn't compute in my head. Like the math doesn't work for me. I'll go and watch anything live. You want to bring me to a FIFA match, we'll go, man. We'll have a great time. And it's amazing, right? And I generally understand how the sport works, so I can follow it. But I can't sit at home or like at a bar and watch a fucking TV. I can't do it. I've never been able to do it. Definitely not going to do it now. So do I support Mexico? Like, I don't give a shit if they win, to be honest. I don't give a shit who wins. I mean, Mars could win FIFA and like, I just wouldn't care. I mean, literally zero. But if Mexico won, I guess I'd wear a sombrero or something in Estonia and like, make fun of a few people. I don't know what I did, but I generally don't care. I could care less who wins any sport, literally. Sports could stop tomorrow as professional sports. My life wouldn't change, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We probably just lost like half of our client base. Okay. Oil hinted at, I think you mean Ali. Oil hinted XCM utility outside CoinMetro ecosystem. What's that all about? Trying to prod for information. Well, look, the end goal for us, by the way, guys, I'm gonna limit today to about 30-35 minutes because if you notice, I got a haircut and I have to get my picture taken. And yeah. Not to say that getting my picture taken is more important than talking to you guys. But today, I guess maybe it is. I don't know. That sounds terrible. So oil, Ali, the whole point of a utility token is utility, right? Am I right? We've been focusing and we'll continue to focus on bringing utility to our platform because, to be honest, that's where it makes most sense. However, when we talk about bringing utility outside of the platform, it means not necessarily that you can go take your XCM and, buy a yacht in St. Marcos or something. I mean, maybe you could, that'd be amazing. And if you find somebody selling yachts for XCM, please send me their number. But the main idea here is that there will be other services potentially that are offered in tiers that when you're in that tier, you're able to utilize that service maybe at a discount or maybe for free. That's more about outside utility. And the more biz dev we do, biz dev team coming soon, and the biz dev we're doing now will open up the first few doors to where we are partnered with an outside entity where sitting in a tier, you'll be able to access certain services to provide more value to XCM. So that's the idea. Hi, Kev. How was your trip to Slush? In Slush. Anything to share with us about the trip other than depressing Finnish weather? Yeah, the weather was horrible, man. I mean, to be honest, I came back to Estonia and it was colder, which is weird. Maybe it's not weird, but it was weird for me. I went south and it got colder, right? What is that? Anyway, I guess, well, if you go too south, it gets colder, in case anybody's going to fact check me or something. Anyway, so my trip to Slush. So, Slush, I was in Slush, I think 2018. It was bigger in terms of presence of big name companies. There was a very small amount of crypto, but it was very vocal, right? You could kind of hear it, and it was dark, just like, I don't know what, Slush, I guess it's because it's in Helsinki and they're just playing this whole joke about you came to Helsinki in November. But literally, maybe it's because I'm 3 years older now or something, but I almost walked into 400 people in Slush, man. It was dark as fuck in there. People could have been doing anything in Slush you wouldn't have known, literally. And maybe they were. I don't know. Nobody told me about it, though. So there was some quality in Slush. There wasn't the amount or the concentration of investors that we saw back in 2019. And that may be just a reflection of the market, not the crypto markets per se, but just the markets in general. And there was a lot of talks about lowering your valuation, which I thought was crazy. I heard somebody literally say lowered valuation is just a reflection on the market, not on the company. And I think I laughed a little too loud is what happened. And maybe somebody heard me, but overall, I think Slush is a great event. We're definitely probably going to attend. It's close. There is a lot of people there. There is a chance to talk to some like-minded individuals, and usually there is a pretty good concentration of investors. This year, I felt like it was a bit less, though I did have a few conversations with some nice growth VCs, which I'm continuing now. So we'll see what happens. A couple other eventful things happen in Slush, but we'll have to wait for the €1 party before I let those out of the bag. Hey, Kevin. Why all major conflict happen when Democrats are in power in the U.S.? When crypto recovery? Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily blame the Democrats per se. I know there's all that, look, I love a conspiracy theory, they're awesome. I love reading them. Some of them I kind of believe. But, I got to tell you, a lot of the stuff that you're seeing, nothing's ever that simple. When something looks simple, I guarantee you underneath the surface, it is highly complex. And so, the whole SBF thing with donating to Democrats and then, that's why there's all these fluff pieces. And, that's why, why there's fluff pieces is because they wrote fluff pieces before and now they look like fucking idiots. So how do you make yourself look less like a fucking idiot? It's a trailing stop loss, right? You're like, fuck, well, I can't come out right out the gate and say the guy just stole $9 billion because I just wrote 2 months ago that he was the smartest guy ever and could trade his way out of any paper bag, that you stuck him into. And so I have to kind of gradually go out. I guarantee you those pieces are going to get ugly over time for sure. And he will spend the rest of his life in jail, by the way, guaranteed. Doesn't matter what you think. And I don't even tell me what you think because I don't necessarily care about it. But he will absolutely spend his life in jail. He will, guaranteed. It's going to take time though. And it may take years of process, but that's what's going to happen. Anyway, so I don't think it's necessarily Democrats. Election cycles, though, do have a tendency to see a bit more scandal because people focus on politics more when there's election cycles versus when there isn't. When crypto recovery, that's a good question. When recovery period? I mean, the definition of recession has been changed now 55 times by every country in the world. Well, I don't care what they say. We're in a recession. In fact, we've been in a global recession for at least now probably 12 to 18 months. And it's probably only going to get worse until it gets better, like usual. I mean, I love that saying because it always gets worse before it gets better. I mean, unless you say that right at the bottom, obviously it's going to get at least, a pip worse or a tick worse before it gets better. So, there's two potentialities here. One is that crypto continues to follow traditional markets and traditional markets continue to bleed up until the point they start printing more money. And they're going to start printing more money. The Bank of England already started printing more money. The US will print more money. They're going to probably push interest rates to 5, 5.5, 6% before they start printing money again, but they will have to print money. And the fact that they're accelerating rate hikes means they're going to print money faster. And when they start printing money again, equities will probably do well because guess where all that money goes? Well, it goes into equities. So not all of it, but so if crypto maintains its connection to traditional finance, you're going to see over the next probably 9 to 12 months, some life back in the market to the upside. There's another potentiality that during those 9 or 12 months, people realize that, well, shit, crypto has nothing to do with equities. It has nothing to do with the underlying market. In fact, it should be a hedge on the underlying market. I should be putting my money here because where else am I going to put it? Now, we've been waiting 14 years basically for people to figure that one out. Whether they figure it out in the next 9 months, statistics tell me probably not. Probability is kind of low, but it is a potentiality that could happen. Pete Smith, Kevin, I love you. Well, thanks, Pete. This is awkward, but I'm not going to say it back. When Dread Bongo and Kevin collab AMA, well, when Dread reaches out and says, dude, let's do an AMA, I'll say, bro, let's do an AMA. And then we'll do an AMA. So let's see when that happens. Another 10 minutes or so, guys, then I'm out. I'm trying to get as many of these as I can. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, KDA Miner. What things have you seen or heard about SBF crap that led to good people trashing sexes that you take issue with? I love saying, is there a better way to say CEX? Is like KEX? That even sounds worse because there's that KEK thing that I still don't understand that apparently is bad. I don't know. Are irreplaceable in my opinion. Yeah, look, don't ever follow the herd. If there's any advice in life, never mind investments, any advice you should ever listen to from a bald middle-aged man, it's don't follow the herd. When everybody else is saying something or doing it, don't fucking do it ever, literally. Unless you want to just have like a really crazy night out, then fucking follow the herd, have at it, and wake up with a hangover the next morning. But if it's a decision like to invest in something, when to invest, when the bottom is, when the top is, don't ever listen to the herd. It's the dumbest thing you can do. Now, I hate to say, I hate to say this, but generally speaking, 95% of the world have no idea what happens in the world. And so, at the end of the day, if it wasn't for centralized exchanges, anybody that really sits down and thinks about this, Bitcoin would be $1, 50 cents, 12 cents. It'd be still trading back and forth via crazy OTC deals on forums, and nobody would care. The only reason people care is because a somewhat, let's say, understood type of infrastructure, something people felt comfortable with, i.e. centralized infrastructure that has basic UI UX or UI UX that they kind of already understand from their bank account, whatever, is the reason why more people got into crypto. It's the reason why regulators have come in. It's the reason why institutions have come in. You remove centralized exchanges and the ability to onboard, offboard fiat and the support and the accountability. Now, that's a crazy word to say after FTX. I had a little bit of a Twitter battle yesterday with somebody who's like, how we can solve this by not doing anything or something like that. And I was like, look, oversight is needed, but oversight doesn't mean legacy oversight. It doesn't mean send me a report every three months and then I just make up a report, and that's legacy oversight. That doesn't work. Now, legacy oversight, also heightened legacy oversight, like somebody just sitting in the office all day, making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, also doesn't work because there's this thing called corruption. And so at the end of the day, the way to solve it is oversight via tech. And we already have that tech. I already said that in another answer. So this won't last forever. Central exchanges are needed. They will always be an important piece to crypto and to any financial, ecosystem. And I get it, from a maxi standpoint, it would be amazing if we could all just work through like decentralization and move assets around and, but there's no good argument to why we shouldn't be trying to stop, child sex traffickers from moving money. There's no good argument for why we shouldn't do that. There isn't. Anybody that tries to make an argument against that is lost as soon as they try to make the argument. And the simple fact is that if there are ways to move money with zero oversight, that will happen 100%. And even worse things will happen. Even though it's kind of hard to get worse than that, there will be worse things that happen. And so oversight's never going away, but oversight can be heightened, but also create less burden. And so, the things that I've seen and heard, I see a lot of people, oh my God, it's because FTX was owned by the establishment. He's never going to get prosecuted. Oh my, look, he's in his Bahamas penthouse with his family. You know what? Yeah, under armed fucking guard, not able to leave. His father knows somebody, so he's not going to go to jail. I mean, this is generally arguments made by people who have zero life experience. Zero. Like literally probably in their, early 20s to mid 20s, never never even bothered to pay attention to this type of stuff in the world previously and are just making ridiculous claims. And then other people who just like to stoke the fire, right? Twitter's full of people who like to stoke the fire, say things they don't really mean just to see what happens. At the end of the day, this has happened many times. Madoff is one that probably most people remember. Madoff had way more contacts than SBF and his family do. And the amount of money he stole is potentially less. And they got most of it back. And so it's game over for him. But the game is long, right? It's going to take time. You know, the attorney general in the U.S., whether it be Washington or D.C. or whether it be New York, whoever takes the case, probably going to be New York. You watch. They don't lose cases. If they take it, they don't lose it. Simple as that. It doesn't matter how much money you have. He has no money now anyway, right? So he's got no money. The fact that you give money to, you know when politicians listen to you as a donor, once you've donated to them for 30 years or 10 or 20, not the first time. It's like, if some dude comes up in the street and says, here's $1 million and then walks away, well, what if he never gives you another million? What do you care about that guy? You care zero about that guy is what you care. It's all about the fact that too many people said great things about him without doing due diligence. And now they can't say bad things too quickly because they look ridiculous. But I guarantee once we start getting through the case and more info comes out, you will start to see Kevin O'Leary, all these other dudes, plus every media outlet will start to trash the fuck out of SBF. It will happen, but it's going to happen slow because pride is a thing. Cool. Moving on. I think I don't even know if I answered your question, but I went on a rant. So apologies. It's Friday and no CoinMetro shirt on. So I figured if I get memed or something, maybe you don't know who I am. But we do have one in the corner. So I guess, sorry. Not a question, but just wanted to say how much CA has improved in the last year. It's now really my go-to exchange. Amazing to hear, Charlie. I'm glad to hear it. I'm sure product marketing, finance, compliance, everybody's gonna love to hear that comment. So really do appreciate that. Any FTX exposure? No. So directly, zero exposure. We did no business with FTX, none of their affiliates, nothing. Up to this point, as far as we know, because obviously we do work with some counterparties. All the information we have is that there's no direct exposure for them as well. We do work with Wintermute. They apparently have some exposure, though I'm not sure they know what that is. However, we don't hold assets with Wintermute. So even if they did have exposure, no effect to us. The only real effect would be a little bit on the business operation side, because obviously we'd have to change a few things to support some assets from other providers, liquidity providers. But so yeah, up to this point, definitely CoinMetro, zero. Counterparties, as far as we know, up to this point, and obviously we've had these discussions. You asked this question, I asked this question. It's zero. I short XCM crash you company. Is this CZ? Is this CZ disguised as Donald? You could try and short XCM. Now, price floor, man. What do you think about price floor now? Impossible to short XCM. Also means we're definitely not collateralized on XCM, right? Because if we were, well, we couldn't be, like literally. How are the preparations? Okay, well, we got 3 minutes, guys. How are the preparations for the next funding round progressing? Have your expectations for a change to market? Expectations not really changed, but timing, always gets adjusted. And we're kind of probably going to go into a little bit of a round now, and that may become a bit of a perpetual round, kind of pushing us into that larger raise. I'm not worried about the market. This market is going to tell investors, it'll make some investors squeamish for the short term, but some will be looking for people they can invest in that don't follow the same rule book that SBF follows or followed. And, that puts us right in a very small group of potential investments in this industry. So in the medium term, and even in the general short term, next couple quarters, I don't necessarily think sentiment is going to be so different than it was just previously. In the worst timing possible, I am now asked to verify my account, which will take a few days. Could this wait for after Black Friday? Do you want people to buy and stake? Look, reach out if you're in touch with support. Please send them this. Also, go ahead and DM me on Telegram your username, and do my best to make sure that everything's solved before then. Unfortunately, compliance is compliance, and at the end of the day, sometimes it's like Murphy's Law, and it's happened to me. I literally got asked a bunch of documents just yesterday from one of the banks that I work with, right when I was having to make a bunch of transfers. It is what it is, but we can get this solved, I'm sure. Just DM me and make sure you get in touch with support if you haven't already. Buy any Credo recently? Not yet, but still on my radar. I still like Credo. Tokenomics aside, market aside, I think their product is needed and wanted and warranted. Back to reserves query. Question is how CM providing the customers with comfort. License, obviously, good stuff. Yeah, like we've always been licensed from the get-go. We've always done these AMAs. We've always been transparent. We've always told people when bad stuff happened. We've always been upfront about it. We've always taken ownership of it. And I think that's a reason why outflows from CoinMetro and Comparative, well, we've seen Binance outflows now, what, 30%, 40% of assets under management. We've seen 4, 5%. And that's normal, to be honest, in this time of year anyway, in terms of client outflows. So I think that 4.8 Trustpilot rating, all these things, I think, show trust in a different way, but definitely show that our client base stays with us. One of the main reasons is because they trust us. Showing proof of reserves shouldn't make you trust someone. There needs to be more openness and more connectivity. The fact is it doesn't exist yet. And we, like probably some other like-minded companies, are looking for it. And we will eventually find it. But we will continue to do what we can to make sure that we gain the trust of our clients. At the end of the day, it's a constant. We didn't start wanting our clients to trust us last week because of FTX. We didn't change our business, modus operandi last week because of FTX. We've always wanted our clients. We've always strived and done everything we can to make sure that we're a trustworthy business. And that's not changed. And unfortunately, like I said, I think most things that are being done now are gimmicks. Again, if we are asked to do it, we'll do it. But it shouldn't be what pushes you over the edge to work with a company. It shouldn't. At the end of the day, it's one checkbox probably on a checkbox of 1,000. One more question, guys, and then I'm out. Thoughts on the bailout fund Binance is setting up? Isn't this against the ethos of crypto, considering that Satoshi created Bitcoin in response to the government bailouts? Well, I don't know if him creating it during that time meant that companies shouldn't help each other. I think what he meant is that taxpayers shouldn't have to foot the bill. And in this instance, well, I guess if they're getting money from other centralized counterparties that are stealing money, like potentially SPF did, then he is taking kind of taxpayer money in that sense. But I don't think it generally goes against it. I'm always skeptical of what Binance does, to be honest. And they say they have so much money and so much reserve, but they have to fundraise to get $1 billion for their reserve fund. Why? Why are they setting it up? Is it just an acquisition fund? Is it just a way to set up a fund to try and get some acquisitions on the cheap after they were part and partially responsible for the crash? At least when it happened, because it would have happened probably anyway, but it may have happened later. It may have happened into a better market condition, et cetera. There's many things that come into mind, and that everything that Binance does makes me not like Binance more. I mean, there's been like 1 or 2 things Binance has done in the past where I'm like, okay, yeah, that's actually pretty good. But this is one of those things I don't get. We have so much cash. Oh, don't worry. We have all these cash reserves. We have so much BUSD. But they have to fundraise 50 million a clip at all these different other businesses to put up a fund to do what? To help other companies that don't have money? Why? It's questionable. At least from a moral aspect, I think it's questionable. Ethics, business, well, some people like cutthroat business. This, I think, is definitely a way to try to buy assets on the cheap and spread the risk, but they put it under this recovery fund. And again, doesn't make sense, because why would they need a recovery fund if they're sitting on billions? Anyway, guys, I'm going to have to leave it there. Oh, hold on. We got somebody that why did you freeze all the assets? Yeah, we haven't frozen a single asset. You may have an account that's frozen, and there may be good or maybe not good reason for that, but you need to contact support if it's your account. Assets are absolutely not frozen on CoinMetro. So it's kind of a weird way to end it. Let's take one more. What projections does CoinMetro have in place to prevent a ransomware attack? Wow, that's a very technical question, which I can give you a high-level overview. We have obviously our sysops, our head of sysops, I guess, as well as the rest of our tech team. We obviously use systems like Amazon, et cetera, but also have built-in protection. We go through pen tests. We just went through one, got a 10 out of 10, for example. So we are very, I guess, always looking at security. And while we've had one incident in the past that was kind of internal, and then created a bunch of different systems to make sure that never happens again, we've never had any type of external attack have any impact on CoinMetro whatsoever. And constantly, when there are different new types of attacks, we are looking for ways to make sure that we are protected against them. So I would give you, I'm not our CTO, I'm not a CTO. So as far as, absolute names and technicals and name dropping, but you can feel free to DM me on Telegram, and guess what? I'll get you any information you may need if you want a further explanation. So we'll end it on that one. Thank you, everybody, for your great questions. They were amazing, except for that one. And have a great weekend. Spend time with friends and family. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. Hopefully now you can do it physically, or maybe not hopefully. Maybe you still want to do it virtually, or maybe you just call in sick. Can you call in sick from a family reunion meeting? I think you can. I've done it. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Tag me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me at Kevin Murcko. Like this thing, love it, click it, thumbs up it, do something, subscribe if you haven't. We need to get to 5,000 subscribers, man. I've been seeing this thing at like 4,970 for like 8 years. So come on, we need 30 subscribers. Get it done. Have a great weekend. I don't know if you should look at prices this weekend. Probably not. But Black Friday, man. It's Black Friday, XCM, double staking rewards. I think it makes sense to take some advantage of that. Plus, you're going to help out the book, and we're going to start helping out the book, and the book's going to be amazing in a relatively short amount of time. So have a good weekend, everybody. Cheers.